They say that inside of every obstacle, there are opportunities. Inside of every nightmare, right, there are silver linings. I think that for a lot of us in this moment, we need to figure out not only who the country is going to be, what the country is going to become, but who we are going to be in this moment. Obviously, there is great pain, great despair, and sadly, as I was putting together today's show, thinking to myself, we haven't even hit bottom yet. Like, to think about what the bottom could be is terrifying. But while we are trying to figure out Donald Trump's next move, which I think is a fool's errand, I think that what we can control is how we want to respond and who we are being called to be in this moment. I am so happy that you all are here. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. Let's get into it. I'm tired. I'm going to be honest with you. I find, I will say this. Let me give you a little bit of like insight. I had therapy today, right? I am a firm believer in therapy. I think that everyone should be in therapy. Maybe if MAGA, Donald Trump, Elon Musk had sought out therapy, they wouldn't take out their fucking issues on the rest of us. But while I was in therapy today, and God bless therapists because they were not built for this particular moment, meaning that the issues that we are all working through are not things that we're conjuring up in our minds, right? They are things that actually are existing, evil that we are seeing, and we're trying to figure out how to process it. But like I said at the top, you have to figure out what you can control in this moment and what is being asked of you, right? Because I am a believer too that we are being called to show up differently than we have ever shown up. And so what does that mean? It doesn't mean just to place blame or point fingers, but it's like, if I am to get through this time and I want to get through in a way that allows me to thrive, even in the midst of destruction, what does that look like for me? And I think that these kinds of questions are important for us to ponder, are important for us to unpack. And if you did not check out today's episode, today's live on Substack with my friend Jared Yates Sexton, please do. It is up now on my Substack, The Damn Digest. And these are the kind of conversations and questions that Jared and I are digging into. We don't dig into the headlines with this. We talk about how we are feeling on the check-in and what we're being called to do in this moment, and how America is essentially one giant open wound that has never been treated, right? And you can't just look at the collective without looking deeply at yourself. And it isn't just for us to look at other people and say, well, we're not MAGA and sit in our superiority. It's to understand that why we detest the things that they do, they are still a reflection of the darkness that is in all of us, right? And so what do we do? Not only to keep that at bay, right? But to ensure that we are leading and existing from a place of compassion, empathy, and grace. So if you have not checked out my Substack and the conversations that I'm having every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, with my friend Jared Yates Sexton, please do. I think that it is, I say that we're not therapists, right? But some people have said that they are finding it therapeutic, just to kind of sit. So I offered that to you. All right. So let's get into today, shall we? The weather is nice, but the headlines are not. So let's just start where we need to. I titled this show today, Trumpism, Division, Chaos, Collapse, because ta-da, that's where we are. Donald Trump met today with three of the biggest retailers in the country, Walmart, Target, and Home Depot. Target, as we've talked about many times, has seen an absolute decline. I think that they are down like 30% in their earnings because of the boycotts that continue, because of their rollback of DEI and their donations to Donald Trump, etc. And like, what is the difference between Target and Walmart and other places is the fact that Target pretended and capitalized off of Black people, queer people, people of color, etc., in their advertisements, in the products that they were placing in their store, leading us to believe that they were on our side and the side of progress. But that was so long as it was profitable for them. So the response to their rollback is, we don't really need Target. We can find other ways to shop. Nonetheless, those three CEOs met with Donald Trump today, according to Forbes and others. Three of the nation's top retail leaders, Walmart's Doug McMillon, Target's Brian Cornell, and Home Depot's Ted Decker, met with Trump at the White House to present their case against the administration's proposed tariff policies, advising tariffs will raise consumer prices and could potentially disrupt retail supply chains and lead to product shortages. Because here's the thing. Again, Donald Trump, in his tariff war, has raised, where are the tariffs now on China? Are they at like 200%, 145? It's something ridiculous. Knowing, as we have seen through social media, that China's like, we can survive without the United States. Like, we're good. And other countries saying, we'll make our deals with China. Like, we are going to figure out how to survive without the United States. We're good. And what these retailers went to Trump today to say is like, we're not good. We actually need you to back off of this tariff shit because it's not a good idea. Not for our consumers, not for the retailer, not for anyone that is involved. And so here is the breakdown, which I thought was really interesting. The $8.5 trillion retail industry, which, my God, right? And the 132 million American households it serves are facing rapidly rising prices across the board should the proposed reciprocal tariffs be imposed. Remember, Donald Trump put in a 90-day pause for 75% of the countries that he put the tariffs on, but then upped the ante when it came to China. The National Retail Federation estimated tariffs could cost Americans up to $78 billion in annual spending power. Let me give you a quick aside. So yesterday, I'm going through my comments as I do on some of the videos on YouTube. And there was a comment that I responded to by, I'm assuming, a Trump supporter. Because the comment read something to the effect of, Donald Trump is trying, these tariffs are about bringing jobs back to America. And Donald Trump is trying to do something for the working class. And all Kamala Harris would have done is continue with the status quo. And my response was, the status quo, like a functioning fucking economy? The status quo meaning that like our economy was the envy of the world. And exactly what are tariffs doing to bring back jobs? Because Donald Trump is also cutting education that would provide the skills that are necessary for people to take on the jobs that we have shipped overseas in factories and so on and so forth. And how long do you think that it's going to take the United States to build the kind of factories and skilled workers that we haven't had in this country for decades? Right? Like, what is the timeline for that? Like, you say these things, they just like throw out these words and these phrases and parrot and regurgitate MAGA talking points. But when you ask follow-up questions like, what's the timeline? They don't have an answer. And these are the things that I wish that journalists would ask when they have an audience with Donald Trump. Okay, so you're saying that you have proposed these obscene tariffs that the National Retail Federation is saying that is going to cost the American consumer $78 billion in spending power, but yet you say that you're doing this to the advantage of Americans. What does that look like? You're telling us that we need to have this necessary pain for a little while. What's your definition of a little while? Just ask the fucking questions. Oh, the president said, the president said, the president said. Bop, 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 bop. So here's what is actually true. The spending power that is going to be lost is going to be across 6 categories of goods, including apparel, toys, furniture, household appliances, footwear, and travel goods. That estimate does not include food and beverage, which totaled $1.5 trillion in spending last year for off-premise personal consumption, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis. When you see these numbers, right, and you understand what the data is showing, you get a better picture as to why Donald Trump and this administration want to do away with data collection. Because they just want to be able to spout off the top of their head lies and bullshit. And then when we are looking to figure out how to give the American people the truth, well, there's no data collection anymore. So you either take what they say or you believe actually what is going to be in front of you, which are going to be empty fucking shelves. Right? Which are going to be industries like, let's say, hospitality completely collapsing because people don't have the extra money in order to take vacations, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, again, not rocket science, folks. So the Forbes says vulnerabilities vary. And again, very interesting here. Walmart customers have less on the line should tariffs be imposed. Only about 33% of the products it carries are sourced internationally, though China and Mexico are its significant trading partners. But get this. On the other hand, Target imports about 50% of its merchandise, including 30% of its private label brands come from China. So basically, a majority of the shit that is inside of Target, on Target shelves, comes from China. They have already, right, faced declining profits over the last several weeks because of their rollback of DEI. What do you think is going to happen then? Donald Trump is basically setting them up to fucking have to file Chapter 11, which he knows a lot about, so maybe he can give them some advice. And Home Depot reports 50% of its goods are sourced in North America, though how much comes from Canada is not specified, right? So, and who else are we in a trade war with but Canada that provides us with what? What do you see when you walk down the aisles of Home Depot? Lumber, steel, coming from the places that Donald Trump has targeted. So when they are sitting down with him saying, you need to roll this shit back because our shelves are about to be empty, yo, your stores are about to be empty because ain't nobody shopping there either. The domino effect, the economic domino effect that Donald Trump is causing for absolutely no reason whatsoever is going to reverberate for generations. Like, you have ruined our trade relations for decades, because I don't know why anyone would trust the United States ever again. I would never do any type of to what end? For it to exist for maybe 4 years, maybe 8, but then be rolled back? You have shown the world that we are unreliable and unstable. So if I'm everybody else, I'm trying to figure out who my new trading partners are, because America ain't it. It's just so stupid. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just so dumb. But, this is where we are now. Things, however, that are incredibly serious is this next story. Abrego Garcia's wife, folks, has been forced to go into hiding thanks to DHS slip-up. Kilmar Abrego Garcia's wife says she fears for her safety since the Trump administration deported him to a prison in El Salvador. We have learned, right, that he is no longer at CCOT, the torture terror prison, but all of the other men who were kidnapped from the streets of America are in fact still there. He is in another prison in solitary confinement. Who knows what the conditions of that prison is at all. But let me tell you a bit of what is happening to her, as if her family, her and her 3 children, haven't been through enough. The wife of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador by the Trump administration, was forced to move to a safe house. Why, folks? With her children, after the government posted their home address to social media. You tell me if you think that that's a fucking slip up or not. Because I don't think it's a slip up. How does the government accidentally post your home address on social media following as retaliation against her husband meeting with Senator Chris Van Hollen? How does that happen exactly? So let us not fall for the fucking rope-a-dope. This is this Abrego Garcia's wife, damn near in tears and a breakdown. I don't know how she is managing through this time, but my God, what else can she handle in this moment? Because now she does not even have the safety and the comfort of her own home. They stole her husband, and now they stole her safety. That is terrorism. She said this to the Washington Post, quote, "I don't feel safe when the government posts my address, the house where my family lives, for everyone to see, especially when this case has gone viral and people have all sorts of opinions," Vasquez Sura told the Washington Post. So this is definitely a bit terrifying. I'm scared for my kids. And what I said here in my Blue Sky post is, this wasn't an error. It's terrorism. This was retribution for her husband's case going viral and calling into question, right, the Trump administration's kidnapping of individuals and shipping them out to foreign prisons without due process. And that this has gone not just, right, into the progressive modes or what have you. This story has become a global story. And so I feel like the Trump administration just said, fuck you and fuck them, and said, we haven't caused nearly enough pain yet. It is obscene. But I want to go back to the title of this piece because it's journalistic malpractice to say that this was a slip up. A slip up is when a little kid leaves on the school bus and forgets their lunch. That's a slip up. Posting the address of the home of a man that you have kidnapped in a story that has gone viral is doxing. It's not a fucking slip up. Language matters. Ugh. It's so sick. It's so sick, and it is so vile. But folks, before I jump in even further to the next story, please, if you have not already subscribed to the Danielle Moodie channel here, please do subscribe. Hit that like and share button as you're in the chat to your social media platforms. I'm doing my best to hit 25,000 subscribers by the end of May. And we are at 23,000 and growing. So again, if you are new here and have not yet subscribed, it costs nothing. Please hit subscribe, share, and like. Now, let's go on to the next story that shows, that the evil inside of this administration truly knows no end. So, a leaked version of the Trump administration's budget has been released. And the Trump administration proposes defunding suicide lifeline for LGBTQ plus youth beginning October 2025. I mean, it's not enough that you have spent $270 million during the presidential campaign to target the trans community. It's not enough that right now a case is being heard at the Supreme Court that makes it okay for a parent to object to all books with regard to diversity and inclusion because they don't want their child learning about anyone other than who they see in the mirror, evidently. It's not enough that, in the decision to roll back Roe v. Wade, that you had the conservative justices basically setting the stage for the reversal of same-sex marriage. It's not enough. You know what I'm saying? The pain and the suffering is not enough. So you must continue to go after and attack the most vulnerable people who, right, statistically, queer kids, queer youth, queer adults, more likely to commit suicide than any other demographic. And this is what this administration thinks is important. So just for those who are watching, a reminder that the Trevor Project is an organization for young LGBTQ plus people. It is a national LGBTQ plus organization specifically focused on suicide prevention of our youth. And it is important, right? That that they are here and they will continue figuring out how to do the work with or without the government funding. And so again, for those that always seek to donate right? To find a cause to give to, the Trevor Project is in need of your resources at this time. And this is what their CEO said following this leak from the Trump budget. Suicide prevention is about risk, not identity. Ending the 988 suicide and crisis lifelines, LGBTQ plus youth specialized services will not just strip away access from millions of LGBTQ plus kids and teens, it will put their lives at risk, said James Black, CEO of the Trevor Project. These programs were implemented to address a proven, unprecedented, and ongoing mental health crisis among our nation's young people, with strong bipartisan support in Congress and signed into law by Trump himself. I want to be clear to all LGBTQ plus young people. This news, while upsetting, is not final, and regardless of federal funding shifts, the Trevor Project remains available 24/7 for anyone who needs us, just as we always have. So again, I say that if you are looking to support an organization and spread around what resources that you have, do consider the Trevor Project as one of those organizations that are in desperate need of support, because LGBTQ plus youth, particularly in this time, are in desperate need of support. Susan, thank you for posting the link. It is thetrevorproject.org. You can learn more about the organization and the work that they do. It's just, atrocious. It really, like, there's no way around it, right? And you would think, right? So Donald Trump is doing this to his quote unquote enemies, right? To the people that MAGA deems as less than, right? Not real people and not real America, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But guess what? Even if you showed yourself to be on Donald Trump's team, even if you committed to standing in front of the American people and lying for him for a number of years, guess who doesn't have your back? Case in point. Governor of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, says Arkansas is in, quote, dire need of federal assistance, but Trump says no. Good old Smokey Eyes, right, who used to stand up before the American people in the White House press briefing room and lie to our fucking faces about the things that Donald Trump was doing in his first term. Well, she is now experiencing the find out part of the fuck around. And I, for one, have nothing but thoughts and prayers to send to her and the people of Arkansas. So here's where she finds herself at the moment. Governor Sarah Sanders, oh, by the way, because she got rid of the Huckabee because her daddy, meaning Donald Trump, didn't like it, and didn't like Huckabee, who went up against him, remember, in the first Republican primary. Sanders said Arkansas is in dire need of federal assistance in an appeal letter last week after the federal government denied help after last month's damaging storms. Well, what could have brought on those storms? Because climate change doesn't exist. So, I don't really see the issue. Do you guys? 14 tornadoes touched down in Arkansas on March 14th and 15th. leaving 3 dead and dozens injured. The next week, Sanders asked Trump for a major disaster declaration, the first step in securing federal funds and other help from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, which Republicans constantly try to vote to defund, which they are now successfully going to be able to do because Donald Trump is defunding everything. But guess whose states need that federal handout, need that environmental welfare the most? The red states that doubled and tripled down for Donald Trump and believe the fact that climate change doesn't exist. Maybe those tornadoes, Sarah, are just a figment of your imagination. Maybe you should pray on it, and then the cleanup will come. So Sanders specifically requested help in the form of small business loans and individual assistance for people in Greene, Hot Spring, Independence, Izard, Jackson, Lawrence, Randolph, Sharp, and Stone counties. But the Trump administration declined to declare a disaster, meaning no federal assistance would be heading our way. Oops. So sorry. I don't understand what the problem is. I mean, shouldn't she be able to pull herself up from her bootstraps? I remember very keenly when she took office that she said that so long as she was governor, there would be no big government meddling in Arkansas. So sounds to me like you got this, boo. You don't need an appeal letter. You need to appeal to a higher power. Maybe they'll help pick up the branches and the leaves and, restore power and help people rebuild their homes. Maybe they'll do that because you don't need that pesky meddling by big government. No, you should be okay. Okay? Hold a prayer circle, light a candle. You'll be fine. So why maybe Trump is saying no to federal assistance because he's putting the money towards something really good, like really responsible. Because, since the creation of this made up agency, Doge, that BT dubs seems like Elon Musk is going to step back from because, he's going to focus more on the rebuild of his dying business, Tesla. But maybe the Trump administration, because of Doge and looking for efficiency, well, they're going to put money towards something that is really good, something that matters, specifically to the Pentagon. Nope. False alarm. Hegseth orders makeup studio installed at the Pentagon. Folks, I wish that this was a headline from The Onion, but I shit you not, it is the absolute truth. Whoa. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth recently ordered modifications to a room next to the Pentagon press briefing room to retrofit it with a makeup studio that can be used to prepare for television appearances, multiple sources told CBS News. We've had other secretaries of defense before, right? I don't remember any of them being on television as much as this motherfucker finds himself on television. And I damn sure know that if they were going on television, something tells me that they were not going to need a Sephora counter for them to go on television to talk about the important things that were happening in the Pentagon. Just an idea. The price tag for the project was several $1,000s, according to two sources, at a time when the administration is searching for cost-cutting measures. Quote, changes and upgrades to the Pentagon briefing room are nothing new and routinely happen during changes in administration, a Defense Department spokesperson said. The renovation, get this, folks, The renovation was initially planned, was estimated to cost more than $40,000. But the ideas were scaled back. What do you think? What do you think he was trying to put in this room, this makeup room that would cost $40,000? What is going in there? A gold chair for him to swivel, like mirrored walls and ceilings? Like, what the fuck would cost $40,000 for a makeup room? Was he going to build a built-in bar with a bartender? Like, was it going to be a boom boom room? The fuck is going on here? I wish I was making these things up. I really do. And you know what's sad right now is that the American people don't ask for much. You just want the basics to be able to live, thrive, and yet tens of millions of Americans voted and said they didn't like the status quo of feeling good, of sleeping at night, of, pretending that America was a, country that cared about its citizens. No, they wanted to shake things up. I want to play for you a clip from an interview that our former Secretary of Transportation, the one that wasn't on road rules, gave when he was talking specifically about what is it that the American people want and need and what he wants for them. Take a listen to Pete Buttigieg, because it doesn't seem that hard.
To be able to get up in the morning, and the first thing you do is you commute to work, and by the way, if you're on EV, I want that to be affordable for you, or if you're on public transit, not to get back into the subway situation, but I want you to have good public transit to get to where you're going. And then when you get to that job, I want you to be paid well. And if you're about to have a kid, I want you to know that you're going to have parental leave when you have that kid. And if you don't want to have a kid, I want you to have the right to choose whether to have a kid, which means access to birth control and abortion and those things that give you the freedom to decide on that. And if you already have a kid, when you pick them up at school, I want that school to be good, not having its funding slashed while they set fire to the Department of Education. And then when you get home, I want you to be in a neighborhood that is safe and where you can breathe the air, because we didn't let them get rid of the Clean Air Act. And you don't have to think for one moment about whether the air you breathe or the water you drink is clean and clear, which actually takes a lot, because it means the government has to constrain those actors that would make you unfree by polluting the air and polluting the water. And then when you go to bed, I want you to know that your family's going to be fine, even if it's family like mine, despite there being some Supreme Court justice who wants to obliterate your family because it doesn't match his interpretation of his religion. Like, that's the life I want everybody to be able to live.
Yeah, I think
we can deliver that.
That's fine.
I mean, he just went from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. Why is that so hard? How do you listen to a politician say these things and say, you know what? I want the opposite. I want to struggle when I leave my house in the morning, and maybe I go to a job that I'm treated well at, and maybe I don't. Oh, I want to have kids, but like, I can't afford to, and I can't afford to put food on the table for them. Like, how do you listen to a Pete Buttigieg and think to yourself, I think I'll go with Trump on this one? The man that wants to give women, and let me put in the asterisk and disclaimer, white women, $5,000 to have a child, but you want to cut Head Start, cut WIC, provide no mandatory parental leave, cut the child tax credit, cut health care, cut Social Security, but you want to give women $5,000 that doesn't even cover the fucking stay in the hospital to give birth? You have got to be bugging. You've got to be crazy. Anywhere else in the world that has increased birth rates have provided all of the basic needs that parents require in order to feel safe and good to have children. Like a country that is dedicated to ensuring that they have a future where they're not chewing the air and having to boil the fucking water before they drink it. This is not rocket science. And yet you have people that willingly hear this because he says, I want all people to have these things, and say, fuck it. I don't want all people to have these things. I only want my people to have these things. And if that means nobody gets it, then what's the mentality? Drain the swimming pool. Because that's what they did when they didn't want to integrate. Drain the swimming pool. That's the fucking mentality. You know, I'll close out today with another person who comes from the establishment Democrats, whose name has been a household name. But I tell you, I mean, I don't know where he's been, right? I'm sure he's been on, some circuits. But the kind of energy that he showed at this San Francisco event that is currently going viral. Now, this is the energy that all establishment Democrats need in this moment. It is what I'm calling, somebody must have caught the woke bug.
Our Constitution, written by our founders, is intended to protect us against a threat identical to Donald Trump, someone who seeks power at all costs to get more power. And I understand very well why it is wrong to compare Adolf Hitler's Third Reich to any other movement. It was uniquely evil, full stop. I get it. But there are important lessons from the history of that emergent evil, and here is one that I regard as essential. In the immediate aftermath of World War II, a small group of philosophers who had escaped Hitler's murderous regime returned to Germany and performed a kind of moral autopsy on the Third Reich. The most famous of the so-called Frankfurt School of philosophers was a man named Jürgen Habermas. He described how the Nazis, and I quote again, attacked the very heart of the distinction between true and false, end quote. The Trump administration is insisting on trying to create their own preferred version of reality. They say Ukraine attacked Russia instead of the other way around, and expect us to believe it. At home, they attack heroes who have defended our nation in war and against cyber attacks as traitors.
This is the energy that we need. Everyone, and I mean everyone, should be pissed off. Everyone should have woken up in the first Trump regime, doing everything that they can to call on their cronies on Capitol Hill and say, we cannot, America cannot manage its way through another Trump term. You all know he's incompetent, he is evil, he is about division, chaos, and he is going to collapse the country. But they didn't. I don't know what the fuck these people were doing. Oh, well, let's just see how things play out. Well, guess what? They've played the fuck out. And now you have Al Gore standing up on Earth Day, yelling out into the audience, into the void, saying, this is what the founding fathers tried to protect us from. How are we not all on a 5-alarm alert right now? I don't need euphemisms. I don't need everyone to lie and say, oh, we'll get through this. This will be okay. No, the fuck it is not. It is not going to be okay. Everybody is going to make it through this. We are in the midst of a constitutional crisis. The courts may be fighting back, but guess what? The courts have no power to force people to do anything, let alone this administration. So I continue to say that we cannot operate as business as usual and thinking that we are going to vote our way out of this catastrophe. I will say this until I see action taken. We need a national strike. We need to throw sand in the gears of this oligarch, of this autocratic takeover. People have got to understand that you are going to lose things in order to fight for collective liberation. It is not going to be comfortable. And we have got to get to a place of getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because anything worth having requires you to put skin in the game. And so we cannot sit around and think that somehow 2 years from now, if we even fucking make it there are going to be elections for us to vote in. Or those elections are actually going to fucking matter. You cannot do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. That is the definition of insanity. And America has been doing the same thing over and over and over again, running the same motherfuckers up over and over again, expecting this country to advance. And so now we're being pulled all the way back to the 19th fucking century. Why? Because we refuse to face our history. We refuse to face the truth about who this country is. We refuse to really clear out the wound of America's original sins so that we can actually move forward and stop with the fucking pendulum swing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But folks, I will tell you what I said at the top. The blame is to be shared among us all. There was a complacency that we allowed to seep in when Barack Obama was elected. We broke our arms, patting ourselves on the back, thinking that we had gotten to the mountaintop, that we had bent the arc towards justice, and that we were done. Mission accomplished. Fucking George Bush standing up on the Intrepid. Democracy requires constant vigilance. The responsibility of our citizenship doesn't come every 2 and every 4 years. It is every day. We allowed the moral foundation of this country to be eroded. And now furthering that erosion by replacing actual intelligence with artificial ones. We have literally swiped away our ability to connect with one another. And then we wonder why. You create this moral vacuum and then the devil arrives in its place. And then everybody's standing around shocked. How did this happen? Because you weren't fucking paying attention. You were Netflixing and chilling. You were binge watching. You were trying to fill yourself with all of this saccharin and none of it was nourishing. We traded in actual real life social connection for social media. We traded in conversations with our kids for a tablet in their face. We traded in building community for capitalism. I got mine, so you got to get yours. And that's on you. So maybe the collective pain is where we actually start. Maybe the collective pain, because some of us come from a lineage of ancestors that have known pain, that have never actually been able to celebrate the quote unquote fruits of abundance that this country has offered. But now that there is collective pain that is happening and that has found its way over to white America, maybe now there is a possibility for us to really face who we are. We have traded in the values of this country for quick hits. No longer, you go into high schools now and you ask kids what they want to be. Do you know what they tell you? A fucking influencer. Why? Because we value influencers more than we do teachers, doctors, medical professionals, technologists, engineers. They say, no, no, no. I want to go from 0 to 100. Oh, well, there's no value in that. But you have shown younger generations what we value by what we've put our attention towards. So if you are not modeling how we show up in this world, how we critically think, how we engage, why are you to assume that they are going to learn when the teachers are too busy binge watching? And the teachers, I mean parents, caregivers, community members. You have to understand how a Donald Trump happens. It's because moral decay was ever present. The rot had already begun. So it is not about pointing fingers or making jokes and talking about how stupid MAGA is and how this, that, and the other thing. We have got to examine our own individual roles, our community roles in what has happened so that we can figure out how we are to move forward. Because to sit around and wallow in the grief, to sit around and point fingers is to not have any actual fucking movement at a time when we need collective action. So, dear friends, that is what I leave you with today. It is that it is not enough. We don't just wake up one time, right? What it means to actually continually be woke is to question, ask questions, examine questions, and to think critically and figure out how we actually want to be. What is our responsibility? It's not a one and done proposition. That's not how education works. That is it for me today, dear friends, on the Danielle Moodie Show. As I said at the top, if you have not checked out my Substack, The Damn Digest, do head over there for the conversation that I had today with my friend Jared Yates Sexton called The Check-In, that we are doing every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, to check in with each other on how we are feeling and how we connect with one another during this moment of strife and crisis. And, you know, folks, take care of yourselves. Take care of your mental health. Take care of your physical health. Take care of your spiritual health, because we need more now than ever to be grounded, to have a strong foundation, so that as the winds blow around us, we remain rooted. As always, power to the people, and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane, and in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, do stay safe. I will be back here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, for our call to action. And folks, if you have ideas on what I should be offering for our calls to action, please do put them in the comment section. Like I said, I go through them and see what y'all are chatting about and how you're feeling about the shows and what I'm offering. So please do, if you have ideas about who to support, where to put our energy for call to action that happens on Thursdays at the end of the show, please do offer that up. Be well, stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow.